Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I don't know if this is loud or if I need to, can you hear me? No? Then I need to use my inside voice. I can do that. My name is Michelle Boydson. I'm the Director of Payroll and Employee Services. And this afternoon, I'm going to talk to you about the new time system. I'm going to show you a demo of how it works. I know a lot of people are really nervous when we first start talking about we're changing your time system. But most people, when I get done, they're like, oh, it's okay, it's easy. So hopefully you'll walk away this afternoon with that same thought. The first thing I want to do is show you our website. It's at ou.edu/payroll. And on our website, we have I guess I can quit talking so loud because I hear myself echoing. We have a section called Workforce Time Systems. And if you click on that, it's going to tell you the reasons why we purchased a time system. Underneath that, we have our Go Live calendar. And that will show you the groups that are going to go live. You're Group 8. And that means you guys go live Saturday, or you Group 9? Group 8. Okay, so you'll be listed here with Group 8, and you'll notice we have 10 phases for our Go Live. We're very excited. We're at Group 8. That means we're almost done. Almost all of campus is live in the system. And down below, if you go to Group 8 and you click on the Department and Payroll Cycle hyperlink, you'll see all the names of the departments going live in this group. Underneath the Go Live calendar, we have our workforce for employees. And on this site is where you're probably going to want to go to after you go live and you're trying to remember how to do something. We have some short instructional videos. All the videos are less than 5 minutes that you can watch, and it'll walk you through how to do something in the system. One of the things that I'm not going to cover today is how to amend your timesheet. It's less than 2 minutes, and it walks you through how to do it. And an amended timesheet is what we call today a backdated timesheet. So if you turned in your time for your 2-week pay period, and then you get your paycheck and you realize, I made a mistake, it's an amended timesheet. You go in and you amend your timesheet, and then once it's approved by your supervisor, we'll process it on the next payroll. We also have the employee manual that we included on the email that you received. And underneath that, you have quick guides. So if you didn't want to watch the video and you didn't want to dig through the manual to find how to do something, you can just pull up the quick guide on how to amend your timesheet, and you can just read the directions. One of these quick guides that I want to point out is how to bookmark or shortcut. When you go live on Saturday, you may or may not work Saturday, but maybe Monday when you come in, and you go to time.ou.edu, that's what you need to remember. It's time.ou.edu. You enter that on your internet browser. It's going to bring you to a single sign-on page, an OU single sign-on page, and you're going to enter your OU net ID and your password. Once you enter that information, it's going to take you, then it will take you to the time system. And what we normally do is we bookmark once we're in the page, right? When we bookmark, we just bypass single sign-on. And so when we try to sign in, we don't know what our username is and our password. So you have to follow the directions on the PDF on how to bookmark. But time.ou.edu isn't that long of a thing to type, and I usually just I save the bookmark, but I just type it in half the time, because it's just easier. Once I start typing it pulls it up, and I say, yeah, that's what I want. So up to you, but if you want to bookmark, you need to follow the directions. One thing I do want to make sure everybody knows is once you go live on Saturday, payroll is still here to help you. If you have questions, we do ask that you go to the website and see if you can find the answer. We have groups going live every other week, at least through December 8th. And we get a lot of emails. So you might get a response faster if you look at the website and try to find the answer yourself. But if you can't, you can email us at payroll@ou.edu, and we'll respond to you as quickly as we can. But just know it may not be the same day you email. I also want to mention the emails that you're going to receive. Once you go live this weekend, and I'm terrible at dates. So you guys are going to go live on the 10th. You'll receive your first email on November 26th, letting you know that it's time to submit your timesheet. You'll receive that on Monday at 8. So every other Monday, you'll receive an email at 8 a.m. letting you know you need to submit your timesheet. Submitting your timesheet, I'll show you how to do that. It's basically you signing off on your timesheet. If you do not submit by noon on Monday, you'll receive your second email. If you're a manager of hourly employees in the room, you'll receive your first email on that Tuesday or that Monday at 3. And if you haven't approved their time, you'll receive your second email on Tuesday at 8 a.m. Also, I want to mention that we moved the deadlines in December and November because we have to run those payrolls quickly, right? The system doesn't know that we're changing the dates. I don't believe you'll get the emails at all because we will have already closed the payroll by the time those emails will go out. But if you do receive an email after you've already submitted, just know it's probably because the system sent it, and because it's on its schedule that it sends the emails out. We will be sending out emails letting you know your deadline's different because of the compressed payrolls. I think your first payroll, you're fine. I think it's after that we change them. But we'll let you know that, or at least supervisors, so supervisors can communicate. Okay, so this is the system. It'll look a little bit different because your logon page will be an OU logon page, and you'll just have your OU net ID and your password. I'm going to sign in as an hourly employee, and this is what your dashboard looks like. I don't know if anybody knows, but are you using the time clocks? You're just entering time, right? No time clocks? Okay, just wanted to make sure before I just totally disregarded it and didn't talk about it. This is what your dashboard is going to look like. So when you sign in, you'll see an area for time entry, one for reporting, schedules, leave balances, and then your employee leave requests. So I'm going to click on the timesheet, and this time out there, and we're all doing training so we get on each other, top of each other. I think I started to enter time for this week yesterday. Let me go to the next week, next pay period. Okay, so when you sign in the first time, it's going to be blank like this. No hours are going to be submitted for you. What you need to do on Monday when you come in is you're going to click on the Please Select, and you will select which pay code you're wanting to report to, just like you do on your timesheet today, except it's on a piece of paper and you record the total for the day. And worked in out is regular. So you're going to report on Monday that you came in at 8 a.m. So we put an A for AM, a P for PM. If you know military time and you're comfortable with using military time, it understands military time. And so we came in at 8 a.m. and we went to lunch at 11:30. We can save it. And then when we come back from lunch, we can say I came back at 12:30 p.m. And then when I work till 5, I can key in 5 p.m. Now I can do this as I go. So when I get here at 8, I can just say I came in at 8. And then when I go to lunch, I can enter I left for lunch. Or if you do the same thing every day, and you know I'm going to be here at 8, I'm going to go to lunch at 11:30, I'm going to be back at 12:30, I'm going to leave at 5, you can just enter it for the day because you know that's what you're going to do. And if you know you're going to do that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, and you know you're going to do the same thing next week, I'll show you how you can do this very quickly. So you enter your Monday, and you can just click on the little plus sign where there's a down arrow and do copy the entire day. And I can go to Tuesday and I can paste it. Wednesday I can paste. Thursday I can paste. And then same on Friday. And then when I get to Friday, I can go back up here and I can say copy the entire week. And I can paste it on the next week. So now my time has been entered for the next 2 weeks. Just like Word and Excel, I have to save to keep my changes. If something were to happen and on Wednesday I had to work late, I can just come in on Wednesday and say, hey, I worked till 7. If for some reason on Thursday I had to leave early, I can change it to 3 p.m. and then I can insert another row and enter paid leave scheduled or unscheduled, whatever it is, and enter 2 hours and save my page. So it's pretty easy. One thing, I'm going to back up one pay period so I can show you. If you try to leave the page, it's going to tell you that you need to save your changes. So if you forget, it will question you. But if you'll notice, I have, let me take this off real quick. Holiday has already been populated for me. So all your holidays will be pre-populated based on your FTE. So if you're full-time, holiday will appear. Those 2 days over winter break where we have to take 2 days of paid leave scheduled, those are pre-populated for you. You don't have to key them in. The week before winter break, where you have that week of the 7th, so the 17th through I think the 21st, we have to estimate our hours worked. Let me just jump over there and show you what it looks like. We've already pre-populated estimated hours for you. So we're estimating that you're going to work 8 hours per day. Now, if you know you're going to do something different, go ahead and make the change. The reason why we did the estimated hours is for our benefits eligible employees. We want to make sure we pay you for that week. And if you forget to go and enter it, we want to make sure you get paid. And you can always do an amended timesheet after the break to fix it if we did something wrong. But you can come in, if I knew on Tuesday I'm going to go be out on paid leave scheduled, I can just key in 8 hours and save it, and the system will know I'm using all of my 8 hours, and it took away my estimated hours. Only estimated hours will do that. So holiday will keep holiday in there. But this just, no, this is coming up really, really quick, what the estimated hours are for. And just go make your changes. If you know what you're going to do, fix it. It's just there to make sure we get you paid. Another thing, let me jump back to where I was. That's where I was. If you have overtime, do you guys pay overtime or do you comp it as bank? Do you do both? Okay. So if my department's policy is that I receive overtime, I don't have to do anything. It's just going to pay me the overtime. And if I look at my messages down here at the bottom, it's going to tell me that overtime has been earned and I can bank it as comp time. I'm not required to, but I can. So if my department policy is that I just get paid overtime, you just enter your hours and you don't have to do anything else. But if you had that discussion with your supervisor and your supervisor told you we need to bank it as comp time, then you do need to do something. So it's telling me on Friday, November 30th, that it recognizes that I have overtime. So what I need to do is go to that date, which is Friday, November 30th. I also have my yellow push pin here. I'm going to insert a row on Friday, and I'm going to select comp time banked. And it's also telling me to bank 3 hours. I only have 2 hours of overtime, but it's doing the math for me. So 2 times 1.5 is 3. So I need to key in 3 hours. And once I save that, my message is going to change. And it's going to tell me that I banked it, but my supervisor has to approve it. And that's because some areas on campus do not allow their employees to have comp time. So their supervisors has to approve it to say yes. So we have to make it consistent. So if your supervisor does not approve the comp time, we're just going to pay you overtime. But if they approve it, then it will show in your bank. Does anybody have any, another thing that we automatically do? If the university closes for inclement weather, a full day of inclement weather, we will enter those for you as well. If it's a partial day, we will not, because we don't know what shift you work. We don't know if you've taken a lunch break or not. So we'll have you do partial day of admin, but if it's a full day, we'll pre-populate that for you. Does anybody have any questions on how to enter your time that you worked? Okay. I've been looking at the message tab. You need to read your messages, see what it's saying. A lot of the times it's telling you, it knows if you're a 1.0 FTE, it's expecting you to work 40 hours a work week. If you don't have 40, it's going to give you a message that says, hey, you don't have 40 hours in for the week. And if you exceed it, it's going to tell you you exceeded 40. And it's really just informational to you to make sure that you keyed in your time correctly. It will also do that on a daily basis as well. We expect you to work 8 hours a day. If you work 10, and if it's correct, then it's fine. You don't have to do anything. It's just bringing it to your attention so that you can make sure that you didn't make a typo. The Results tab for hourly employees will show you your pay. Notice I still have the overtime on here, but that's because my supervisor hasn't approved it as comp. Once my supervisor approves it as comp time, then the overtime will go away. I have my hours, my rate of pay, and you notice on the comp time rate it's at a time-and-a-half rate, and my gross pay. I can also look at the bottom to see my gross pay for the pay period, as it is right now. Just know this doesn't include sooner credits or any additional pay you might be receiving that's not on your timesheet, but it gives you an idea of what you're going to make based on the hours that you've turned in. Schedules, you're not using that, so it will always be kind of grayed out. Yeah, it looks kind of with the lines on it, so it'll always look like that. The time off tab shows you what your balances are. Now, this is your balance as of this pay period. You haven't received your accrual yet, but it does reflect the time that you've taken during this pay period. So you can do the show details, and it's already showing the 2 hours that I turned in on the 29th. It's already showing that my balance. So if I want to know what my balance is, it's up to date right here. Any comp time I accumulate, it will appear here. Once my supervisor approves it, it will appear in my bank. Any banked holidays that I might have will appear here as well. Does anybody work on a holiday? I didn't show that yet. You work on a holiday? Do you bank it to take it later? Okay. Let me show you how to do that. I forgot to show that. So, where's our holiday? I guess it's the week before. So when we pre-populate the holiday and you work on that date, leave the holiday there. Don't take it off. But show that you worked. So you're going to show what you actually worked, but I'm just going to do 8 to 4 because then I don't have to do a lunch break. Once I key it in and I save it, the system's going to give me a message that says, hey, we noticed you worked on a holiday. Do you want to bank it? And all you have to do is say, yes, I want you to bank it, and I click this acknowledge form right here and save my page. Then the 8 hours goes in my holiday bank, and I can take it later. We have the acknowledgement because some departments have they double pay you if you work on a holiday. So that's why you have to acknowledge it and say, yes, I want to bank it for later. If you don't, it will double pay you. So your supervisor will probably catch it if they want you to bank it. You'll notice this little 12 right up in the corner. If you click on it, it's going to show you the hours that we've reported in this pay period. This is a bad example. Let me jump over to the one I keyed in over here, I think it was. I can see my total hours, and my calendar went away, didn't it? Where'd it go? Oh, there it is in the middle. I wasn't seeing that. It's blind. But it shows me the hours that I work per day. So it's a quick glance to make sure that you keyed everything in correctly. The Act Balances tab will show me my FMLA, and I can track how many FMLA hours it's really by week, so how many FMLA weeks I've used and how many I still have available to me. Just know we did not bring in history for FMLA, so if you've taken off on FMLA in the last 12 months, it will not be reflected here. But if you haven't taken FMLA and you have to go out in the spring, you'll be able to track how many FMLA weeks you have still available to you. And I just realized I jumped and I forgot to mention on the time off tab, everyone has 240 hours of military leave. I just want to stress that military leave is only for our men and women who serve in the military. So if you're not in the military and you turn in military leave hours, we're going to be asking for your orders, right? And the reason why it's on everyone is because we don't know who at the university is actually serving. And when they have to go away for training in the summer, sometimes they're deployed, they haven't been able to see how many hours they still have remaining to them. And we wanted to give them that ability. That's why it's on everyone. Just know, don't use it unless you're really going out for a military reason. Also, when you go live, right here where it says show all weeks, there's a little box and it's clicked on. This will not be selected. And I can only see 1 week at a time, and I have to click up here to the next week. If you want to be able to scroll both weeks, you need to select the show all weeks. I've showed you the save button. You need to save every change that you make. It will be blue when there's nothing to save, but it will be an orangey yellow whenever you need to save something. The submit button is the button that you're going to press at the end of the pay period. So when you get that email that says you need to submit your timesheet, this is what it's talking about. Once you press submit, it will gray out the screen and I can't make any more changes. But you'll notice my submit button changed to recall. So if I realize that I made a mistake because we've had a lot of people that submit it early and then they didn't mean to, they did it on accident. I think they were trying to save and they hit submit. All you have to do is hit the recall button. As long as your supervisor has not approved your timesheet, the recall button will be there. Once they've approved it, then you're totally locked out. You can't recall it. You can go to your supervisor and ask them to unapprove it. Once they unapprove it, then you can recall, you can make your change and then resubmit. So all I have to do is just press recall and it will open back up. The more button allows us to refresh our page or allows us to print. Now we are going to ask that you not print your timesheets. They're in the system. You can look at them at any time, back up and review them. But we do know that some people feel more comfortable with having their own copy. If that is you, we ask that you print it to a PDF and you save it to a flash drive. Don't print it on paper. Also, right now I have this in a list view where I can scroll down. I have all my dates down and my pay codes. I can change it to a table view where it has my pay codes on the left and my days of the week are across. So whichever view you prefer, you can select that. Any other questions on the timesheet itself? Yes? You're going to, when you report time, you're going to report the actual time that you worked. So if you worked till 8, you're going to show I worked till 8. And then when you bank it, you're going to record the number of hours it tells you to record, which is the time and a half. Make sense? If I take this off, let me just delete that again. It knows I worked 42 hours that week. And that's when it brings up the message that says you have overtime and you can bank it, and it's the 3 hours here, so that's the time and a half. So when you bank it, you bank 3. If you just bank the 2, then it's going to tell you still have an hour you can bank. So you want that message to change totally to it's been banked, but you need approval. Any other questions on how the timesheet works? Yes? How do you do the opposite? How do you take the comp time? Comp time? I don't know if he has any in his account. He doesn't. But all you do, if I wanted to, instead of taking paid leave, which I did something weird, I clicked something, but I would just select comp time and take it. Yes? It will be in the system. Just know that you're going to be one pay period behind on your accrual because we haven't ran the pay period this week and last week's payroll yet, so we don't know what you accrued and what you took. You will see payroll enter that adjustment at a later date where we'll give you that accrual, or what we'll do, it'll either be a positive or a negative depending on whether or not you accrued more than you took or you took more than you accrued. Yes?
Approved
For time off, if you do it through the approval process, it'll automatically populate it. If you have overtime and your department says we just pay overtime, we don't do comp, you just leave it. Yeah, you don't have to do anything. Right. Any other questions on the timesheet? How it works? Okay. You also have reports available to you that you can run that you haven't had in the past. You won't have any under schedule reports because you're not using schedules, which a schedule basically says that you always work this and it's tracking whether you're late or early. You're not doing that. It's really for people that use a time clock. The time off reports shows employee absences. So you can run a report to see when you've been absent from work. You can also run an accrual history to see what your accrual has been. You also have some timesheet reports. The employee timesheet is going to show you everything that you entered on that timesheet, so all your in-out times. The audit is the one I want to show you this morning. This report will show you if anyone touched your timesheet other than you. So you can back up. The 26th was the end of a pay period, so you're going to put a pay period end date for the one you're wanting to look at. And you just click the Run button. It's going to ask me how do I want that, the results. Do I want them in a PDF, an Excel, a CSV, HTML? CSV is not always an option. If it's not, it will be grayed out. I'm just going to run it. It's going to open up here at the bottom, and maybe not. See, maybe it will. Hopefully, cross your fingers. So this one, obviously, he didn't have time. Let me go see if I can run a different pay period on him. Let me shut that down. There we go. Let me back up, because I know we were, I think the 17th is the pay period and date. So it shows every time your timesheet was changed. So it will let you know if it was inserted by a user, whether it was updated, which means they changed something, whether or not they deleted it. There are also times when you'll see, and not on this one, but it'll say generated by system and something like that. If it says generated basically by the system, that's when it's inserting your holidays, any of your admin leave, your paid leave schedule. The system has received, it's done its calculations and it's determined it needs to insert something. When you use the leave request system, it will show generated by the system as well, because you went in and you made the request, you submitted it, your supervisor approved it, and the system put it on your timesheet. But for the rest of it, it's going to show you that someone entered it. So this is a report. If you ever want to know what's happened to your timesheet, if it looks different than what you expect, you can run the report. You can also make these favorites by clicking on the star, and they'll appear in your favorites tab. Recently viewed are the ones that I've pulled up recently, and my scheduled reports are any reports that I have scheduled to run automatically. And you can do that on any of the reports. Just be sure you don't use the pay period end date where you key in a specific date, because if you do, it's always going to run that pay period end date, which is probably not what you're wanting. You want to click this bottom one and say so many days before the run date. So if you're running it on Mondays, then you probably want to do 3 days before the run date. I'm guessing, I haven't actually tried this. So, and then you click the schedule button. And to me, it's a lot like Outlook when you're setting up a reoccurring appointment. So I would say I want to do it weekly, every 2 weeks, on Monday, starting and ending, and there's no end date. And then I just create my schedule. I need to put who I'm sending it to. So my email address, what the subject might be, the body, all that good stuff. And then I can create it. And it will automatically generate that report. I don't even have to go in and ask that it run. Do you guys have any questions on how to run a report? Pretty easy. So the next thing is under schedules is my time off. And this is where you're going to go to request time off from your supervisor. Now, I have a lot of people ask me, well, what if I'm just wanting to take leave early? Well, you don't have to make a leave request to leave early. You can just enter that on your timesheet. So just like you do now, you go in and tell your supervisor, my kid's sick, I need to leave, and they say, okay, and you go and enter it on your timesheet, say I left early. But if you're wanting to take off a few days, you can come in and just click the Create New Request, and hopefully it's going there. And I'm going to be given two options. On the left-hand side is when I want to take FMLA because I have a medical condition or a medical reason I need to be out, whether it be for me or for someone in my family. Or on the right-hand side is when I just want to take my vacation time. So I'm going to go into the FMLA side first. And it's going to ask me for an estimated start date, an estimated end date, and a reason. They're predefined. So if I come in and I see that I have predefined reasons, then I know I might be in the wrong spot if I'm just trying to take vacation. But if I'm asking off for FMLA, I'm exactly where I need to be. So the paper form that we submit now, you don't have to do. You just complete this. And based on the reason that you select, you'll be asked specific questions. Just know you're talking to HR. Payroll cannot see that this is even in here. We have no idea whether you've requested it. You're only communicating between Vanessa and HR. So I'm not wanting to request FMLA, so I'm going to discard my request. It's going to ask me if I'm sure I want to do that and say, yep, I want to leave the page. Yes?
Is that in place of doing FMLA paperwork to request it?
Correct.
So what about the documents?
All of that you'll still have to submit, but you don't have to complete that form to request FMLA. This does that. Yes. I think they're doing it by email. I'm not 100% sure.
Will it automatically deduct from ESL if you have to use FMLA?
If you have to use FMLA, it will deduct the 40 hours from paid leave, and then it will start deducting from extended sick leave. And it does look different on your timesheet. So I recommend looking at your results tab. That's where it's really showing you what it's doing, because it'll say a leave of absence, and when you go to the results, it'll show it's using the paid leave and the extended sick leave. So look at your results tab if you have to go out. I didn't go over the current and the past tabs, but the past tabs are all my requests I've made in the past that have already passed today's date. So it's in the past. And the current are the ones that are either pending or they've been approved where the start date hasn't been reached or the end date hasn't been reached. And then if it's rejected or canceled, the start date hasn't been reached yet. So I'm going to click the Create New Request again, and on the right-hand side, I'm just going to request some time off. I'm going to click Continue. And on the next page is going to allow me to select a pay code. Unless I know I'm going off and asking off for next week or the week after, I probably would just do my scheduled leave. Even though I might have comp time or holiday on the books, it will make me take comp time and holiday first before I can use my paid leave. But if I'm asking off 3 months from now, I may not have any comp time or holiday left. So I just use paid leave, and then I can make that adjustment on my timesheet. It will be red at the bottom telling me I have to use my comp time and my holiday first. And I'm just going to select a date out in the future. We'll just take off. Well, let's take off this week. You can put anything in the comments. Just be sure that, or you can leave it blank. Just be sure what you do put in the comments is professional because it is a record now, right? Also, you'll notice I have a graph at the bottom, and my graph is showing all the time in the dark green that's already been approved. If I had any that was pending, which I don't, it would be a light green little bubble, and it would show that. But you'll notice how my graph is going up and down. It's projecting out my leave, which is something you haven't been able to see before. You kind of had to do the math. But I can just scroll over to October 29th of 2019, and based on what I've done so far, not this request, but based on what I have there right now, I'll have 220.8 hours in my paid leave account. I can also click over here, look at my comp. I can click at all of these and see where my balances fall. It's something you haven't had, which I think is awesome. I look at mine all the time. Just click next when you're ready. Your dates are the way you want them to be. And it's going to take me to a page where I can now adjust it. So if I really I'm going to work 4 hours on that Monday, I'm only going to take 4 of paid leave, I can change it to 4, I can change it to 2, I can change it to 1. I can change it to anything. I've said 4 before, and then everybody thinks that's all they can do. But no, you can do whatever hour that you need to take for paid leave. So if you're working half day all that week, you can go and change them all to a 4. Whatever hour you need to, or hour increments you need to use a paid leave, you can adjust it. And I can update it. I can also, if I knew I had comp time on the books and I wanted to take it, I can insert another row and make this comp. It's going to tell me I don't have any, and then make 4 hours of paid leave. So you can adjust this however you want to use your hours. So I'm going to delete that because it's going to tell me I don't have it. So we just get in that loop, and it's best to just ignore it. But now that I have this request in, you can see it's showing now. This is my request. If it's in yellow, it's the current request. And notice how it's adjusted my balance now. I think it was October 29th. Now it's showing 184.81 because it's subtracting the hours that I've submitted here, or I'm about to submit. So if everything is the way that you want it, it's also giving me a view up here. I'm using 36 hours. As of February 4th, I have 63.10 hours. By the end of that week, I'll be down to 27.1. So if everything looks good, I just click the submit button. And when it comes back, it's going to tell me it was successfully submitted, and that means my supervisor received 1 email. That's all they get is 1, letting them know that I've asked for time off. Now, I can see on my dashboard that I have a request that's pending. So if there was a reason and I needed to make sure that they get that taken care of quickly, I can always watch it, and if it's not approved and the date's getting close, I can go and say, hey, can I take that time off because I need to get a flight, an airline ticket, or whatever. I need to book that hotel. I just want to make sure I'm going to be able to take this week off. So you have that ability. They also can see it on their dashboard. On the My Calendar, all this does is it pulls up a calendar screenshot of when I'm going to work or not work this month. So I can see that I'm off on Thanksgiving. You'll notice it says Thanksgiving and then it says time off. If you click on it, it's time off as holiday. It's putting the federal holidays out there. I think that's blue. And then ours show up as just time off. It also shows you how many hours you're taking that day. So that's your calendar. And you also have leave balances. So as of today, I have 8 hours in my holiday bank, and I have 31 hours in my paid leave bank. Do you guys have any other questions on how this works? Yes?
How do you correct a leave request? For example, requested 8 hours of leave, but I only took 4.
You would just go in on your timesheet and change it. And I probably would put something in my comments that said I had to come in and work 4 hours, adjusting to reflect that. So I would go in on, I don't know what date I might have 8 hours of scheduled leave on, but let's see. Oh, right here. Well, I have 6 and I'm using comp. Well, I do right here. So I ended up coming in and working. I can just change this to 4, and then I can change this to worked in out and say I work from 8 to noon. And then save it. But do put something in the comments. That way if your supervisor's looking back and they go, I had you down as being off all day, you have something in your comments to refresh your memory that says, oh yeah, don't you remember I had to come in? That would be the reason why I would put something in the comments.
So we can put those on the contract.
Yes, I should show you that. Going to Disney, had to work. At Disney. That's where I wish I could work every day, but no. And you notice I have a red arrow right here. My comp is exhausted. That's why I normally don't enter my comp time, because I don't know on the request, because I don't know what's going to happen. Someone used my comp time that I had in my example, so I have nothing. So I really just need to, I can just delete this and then change my, it'll let me. And then change this back to 8. And save it. Now my error should go away. Any other questions? All right, if you are not a supervisor, you are free to go.
We work on the DHS state calendar now, so sometimes they get holidays that are on the OU
Right.
schedule, like President's Day or something like that.
Yeah.
Would we be able to select holiday manually and do that?
No, they have their own calendar in the system.
Okay, it's in the system. Okay.
But if you're under a certain code, so right now we just have CEPC Care and CEPC OSIS, and I know they're going to add another one. So if you're in one of the ones that they told us are the other calendar, then it will automatically populate that holiday.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
But if it shows wrong, then you need to let us know so that we can make sure you get in the right department.
We have a very small contract.
Okay, so there should be one for just the 3 of you, or they'll combine you with another. I don't know how they're going to do it. Yeah, and you guys won't be going live probably this Saturday. Have they reached out to you yet?
They need to be put on the list. Okay. Okay. They have their own department. Well, they're in the process of doing that. Their names are gonna be added to the names that I just sent Teresa, Menard, and we're putting the planning department code. Yeah.
Okay.
Teresa.
She reached out to me. I have been like swamped. I haven't been able to get to it, but
Since I
we'll
don't
get
have
it.
to do e-pass, there's not like,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, right. So all you guys will have to do is she'll get it changed over where your holidays, you won't go live this Saturday.
Okay.
You'll actually go live on the 8th of December.
Okay.
Because with new holidays, we have to move, our new department IDs, we have to move to the last one.
Okay.
So, oh, thank you. I love that too. I was like, my son works at Best Buy, and so it's like, and it's pink. So I saw it and I was like, I want that. So I had to get it. Oh, it's dark over there.
I just wanted to clarify, so when you go, is that graph the only way to see how much we do? Is that like just to see where we're at? 'Cause
That's really to see where you're at, but you can look like here, and you can jump forward on your calendar. So if you wanted to jump out to March of 2019, you can look at that calendar, pick a week, a day, but I can see it there as well.
So I can, another way to see it is to go ahead and see, oh, this is how much I will have at this point.
Right.
But if you,
Which is what I do. I jump forward and say, what's my leave going to be like?
and then we can look at the graph to see what the progress
Right, right. Are you with, you have followed the OU, you're with CE? Okay, you follow the OU calendar for holidays, then you go live this Saturday. The only ones that are delayed are the ones that do not follow our calendar for holidays. Uh-huh. You look familiar, I said, yes.
Is there a way that someone can come out and show this?
Yes. Sure. Yeah, we can come out there. What we have to have is a computer, some way to project it, and we can present it pretty much anywhere as long as you have the equipment. And I need to be able to plug in, but once I plug in, we're good. A USB port.
But I so what about time?
Send me an email. Let me know, and I can tell you some dates and times that I have available that I can go out and present, and then you can select from what's available.
I'm going to have
Okay. That's fine. I don't blame you.
and that way we can say,
Okay.
Did anyone happen to turn in a copy of the sign-in sheet?
I haven't received one yet.
There's one out there somewhere.
It's been a challenge, but it's also been fun. I mean, we don't usually get out, so it's kind of nice to get to go out and see people.
I was
I don't really know a lot about the FMLA side of it. If you talk to Vanessa in HR, she can probably explain it to you a little bit more. I think there might be a little, because what she's going to do is review what they provide and determine whether it qualifies or not. So ask Vanessa. And I don't have her number, but
I do.
okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. You can. The admin leave, just make sure you don't delete it. Just put 0. Change the hours to 0. If you delete it, it's just going to keep popping it back on there again because it thinks it's supposed to be there. So just change the 8 to 0. Okay.
I know with there's admin leave on this day,
Right.
we have to bring that to payroll and then enter it like we have in the past. Or is that something we can do on this?
Well, it won't let him have overtime because it doesn't qualify for overtime by our policy. Yes.
It wouldn't even let us do this.
It'll take it now. It'll just say it doesn't qualify for overtime, so it'll show 48 hours at straight time. That's what it will do.
So we don't have to bring it in like we did in the past. We just calculate it on the stuff.
Right. But just keep in mind, it won't recognize that. The only things it recognizes hours worked for the computation of overtime is worked in out, paid leave scheduled, and holiday. So if it's those 3 codes do not equal 40, it's not going to do overtime. Right. So if I had, let's say 45 hours of work time and then I had 8 hours of paid leave, well, let's say 8 hours of admin, then I'm going to get 8 hours of admin at straight time, 40 at straight time, and 5 is at overtime.
Okay. His is a little different.
Okay?
Requires to work hours and hours, just every day. I work at 7:30 and I work at 5:30. So it's not like something where it's that is his time.
Okay.
So, even though he has admin in the week for those days that he did.
He would still get that because if that's normally, he's working the overtime for that period. It's just the 8 he would.
He
Right.
will not get the overtime for
The
that.
8 hours would not get overtime. It would be at straight time.
Just the time and a half.
Right. Right. Right.
What was it before? We had to actually take it.
Yeah. No. Now you just keep it in there and it knows exactly what to do.
Even though we know it's overtime,
Yep.
we'll use that then.
It won't say it's overtime. It'll say that. Oh, do you have overtime? It will. Well, you don't have to key in overtime because it's calculating what overtime is for you. It's already doing. Well, you have to understand. FLSA doesn't allow you to do it daily. So what it's looking at is the week. So it's looking at Monday, so he's worked 9 hours, and then Tuesday he's worked 18, and then I'm not good at math. So the next day, and then it's looking, when did he reach 40? When did he exceed 40? So it'll be Thursday before it, or Friday before it recognizes he already worked his 40 hours, and now we're going to do overtime. Right, it still won't matter. As long as you're showing that he worked all the days like he always does. If he always works 45 hours in the week, it will pay him 5 hours of overtime, even though he has admin in that week as well. But those 8 hours of admin will just pay it straight time.
Right.
Right.
But his is normal that way. So we'll
Yeah.
recognize that he goes from 7:30 to 5:30.
Yes.
Normally all the time.
Right. And then on Friday it's going to say you have overtime. And then it'll just pay it. He doesn't have to bank it because you want to pay it.
Make sure that we, like, if we have admin leave on a Tuesday, if he goes in Wednesday.
Still won't matter.
tries to
Does he
finish-
work on Tuesday when it's an admin day?
Sometimes he does, and sometimes we get to go home at 2, we shut down, and DHS is shut down, they both have to be shut down.
Okay.
A lot of
So,
times they come together. A lot of times he just works that day.
okay, if he works that, it's going to depend on whether he works. If he doesn't work, then it's not
My
going to.
concern is if he goes in each day, puts in his time each day, admin on Tuesday, he goes in overtime, 9 hours work.
Yeah, it doesn't care.
9 hours.
It'll just accept it. You just put your hours worked in, it looks at that. Right. It says, do you have overtime?
I've never
It is
watched
easy. Yes. I think it'll be a lot easier. Paul, yeah. Yeah. So you just put your hours in, you don't worry about whether it's overtime or not. It's gonna look at it, you can watch your total in your, actually, I would look at my results tab. Did it give me overtime or not? If you're expecting to have overtime or you get the message. Yep. It does red. Yep. You're very welcome. Yes. And then you have to key that one in, is my understanding.
Okay,
That was different. She understands it a lot better than what I do because I don't really deal with it.
you answered part of it.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay. Okay. I'm going to sign in as a supervisor now. Oops. And if you notice, actually, I'm going to undo these real quick. I have a lot more on my page than this the employee has on their page. And if I hover over, you'll notice a little star appears. And what I did is I made all of my things my favorites. And that way I know if it's about me, it's in my favorites box. If it's about my staff, it's everywhere else. So I'm not going to cover my timesheet, my time off on my calendar because we've already discussed that. The edit employee time, we mentioned earlier that an employee can run a report and see if you changed their time. So what I am going to strongly encourage you to do is to not change your employee's timesheet, ever, unless you absolutely have to. Really, legally, you shouldn't be. If they're not doing something correctly, you need to go back and explain to them what they should have done and how they need to fix it. If you have a disagreement on whether they worked those hours or not, then you need to have a conversation with them. But if they say, no, I worked it, then you need to pay them for it. And then it becomes an ER issue. You need to talk to employee relations. Right? Don't change their timesheet. The things that you might change if an employee is going out, and let's say they had a car accident, and it's Thursday, the pay period ends, they're in the hospital, you're going to want to get them paid, right? So I would go in, key their paid leave scheduled in for those days. Then once I approve it, I would print it out. That's the only time I would print it and get them to sign it when they come back. Then keep that documentation because internal auditing will be coming to you and asking you for your documentation. Why did you change their timesheet? I also would put it in the comments why you did it. Just be careful, especially in a car accident type situation. Don't get into medical reasons. It's just they had an accident, a car accident, entering time on their behalf. So that there's some documentation on why you did it. But to edit time, you just click on your group, you go in, it opens right up, and it says, though you were them. Nothing is locked out. I can make any change, I can insert. So don't change it. We talked about that. I don't know why it's being so slow, but don't change their timesheet unless there's a reason, a valid reason for you to do that. But you do have the ability to if you needed to. Edit time for groups, I'm going to go over it, but there more than likely is never going to be a time that you use it. I tried to get it removed, but they told me it's delivered functionality and that I couldn't. So we're going to tell you what it is, and then that way you don't always look at it and go, what does this do? You'll know. And I believe my pay period, yeah, don't ever use it. I think this is the right pay period. It may give me a warning here. You basically enter your pay period that you want to make a change on, select your employees, which they should be the only option for you in your group, unless someone's delegated to you, and then that group would appear as well, so if you've been delegated to. And you select the employees, so it allows you to update multiple employees at one time. That's what it does. So then you go add. It's not going to let me do anything because the payroll is in a situation where I can't. But I should be able to click this down arrow, select my pay code. It would open the fields that I can change. So an example would be, we closed early and I'm going to be nice and enter my employee's admin because it's a partial day. I could do that here. I'd select admin, key in 4 hours, put university closed at noon, and save the page, and now it's entered for all of them. I would never do that. I would have my employees do it. But that is the only example I can think of and why we might use it. That's what it does. Eventually, it's going to take me back to the home page. There it went. Approving timesheets. I click on the approved timesheets. It's going to take me in. I select my group of employees that I want to approve. Notice I have amended timesheets on here. And then I have the current timesheet for the current period. And I also have monthly and hourly on my approval screen. So if you click the approve all, you're going to lock either your hourly out or your monthly out. So you may have to, if you supervise hourly and monthly employees, you may have to approve them one at a time. Or if you only have a few monthly, you can approve all, and then you can go unapprove it. And they have my payroll in a situation where I can't even show you. But you just click approve, which these are all, they've advanced the period, and now I can't show you. But you just click approve, and that's how you would approve it. Also, notice on the submitted column, all of these say no. You want all of yours to say yes, because that means your employees submitted their timesheet to you, they signed off on it. If it says no, then you want to go back to them and have them submit before you approve. Also on the exception columns, it says yes, which means I have exception messages on their timesheets. I may want to go look at them, but I'm going to show you some other ways that you can check out what's going on. More than likely, they've exceeded, actually, these are yellow because he says he has total 8. I'd have to go look at why Diamond's getting an error message or an exception. This one is because he hasn't met 80. She hasn't met, or Chris hasn't met his 80. He hasn't met his 80. I'm not sure why they're getting an exception message. We'd have to look at them. A lot of the times you can look at it and determine why. More than likely that they're getting an exception message. If it's red, you can't approve it. You need to go and have them do something.
Now, is there a place where you can click on them and see what they entered on a daily basis?
You just click on their name, and it'll open up, and that's another way you can see what the exception messages are. So hers are, because she exceeded 10 hours, she worked 10 hours in what we would have expected her to work 8 hours in one day. So that's why it's showing an exception message.
Can you approve it if it hasn't been submitted?
Yes,
So if they're on vacation, that's it, and they didn't submit it.
you can still submit it for them, or approve it for them. Any other questions on the approval side of it? Yes? You can reject it. This little button right here, you can click on it, and it will, it's not going to let me do it more than likely, but you click on it. Oh, it did. It opens up a box, and actually it's not going to, it's just telling me I can't do it. It'll open up a box, and it will let me type a message to them, and it sends them an email. I probably would go and talk to them in person, but you can. The web clock is different. I think I have it on him, so I can show it. I don't. Do you want to see what the web clock does? Okay. So yes, the web clock would do exactly what they punch in, and they can't change it. So if they forget to punch in, or they forget to punch out for lunch, you have to fix it. And so you have to put in the comments, employee forgot to clock out for lunch. And I would want to get something in writing from the employee that tells me when they clocked out or when they left, so that I have that as backup, that type thing. You also have reports that you can run. You have the ones that you can run on yourself, and you can also have some manager reports. So you can run a report on your employee's accrual. This is your terminated employees. You can look at them. I haven't ran that, so I'm not sure exactly what's on there. Exception report. So instead of looking at each employee's timesheet or looking at the approval screen to see what my exception messages are, I can run this report and just pick my pay period end date. Pick one that's a little bit earlier. Pick my employees, select them. And then I would just select all of my exception messages just so I know. And then run it. It'll let me run it to a PDF and should open up here. So now I can read all of my exception messages. I don't have to look at each employee's timesheet. And if I didn't bank it, it'd say comp time has been banked, approval is needed. That way I know that I need to do something. I'll also show you another way that you can see that as well. So that's one of the reports you have. You also have, under the timesheet reports, you can run a report to see who hasn't submitted their timesheet to you. And I don't know what payroll they're on, but this may not bring me back any data, but we'll see. But the cool thing about it is it brings it to me in with their email. So I can just grab their emails, accounts off of here, throw it on an email and tell them, hey, I need these to me. You guys haven't submitted your timesheets, so they need to be to me by this date, this time. And I would want to run this report until all of the submitted, unsubmitted is cleaned. It comes back with no one on it, and that way I know it's good for me to approve. I can go out and approve them. And then if I have a lot of employees, if you don't have very many, this may not be beneficial, but if you have a lot of employees, you can run the unapproved timesheet report, and it would tell you anyone that you didn't catch. So if there's anything out there that's waiting you missed, you can find that out. There's also an hours by pay code. So if you wanted to run a report to find out how many hours your employees have reported in a pay period, I select my employees. I can select all of my pay codes, or I can select a specific one if I just want to know overtime or banked holiday, or some of these codes aren't our codes, so you'll see some that you're like, I don't know what that is. It probably isn't something that you would use. I usually just select all and I run it. If you view the payroll extracts, this might come in handy for you because it's going to show you hours. Just keep in mind it's going to put hourly and monthly together because they cross a pay period. Once we get everybody up and live and we're more steady and we're not running everywhere, we're going to modify a report that you can select, I just want my biweekly staff, or I just want my monthly staff. But it shows all the comp time, overtime, paid leave. They don't have a lot during this pay period, so I don't. But it will scroll out. As many pay codes as they have, I would see them. Same thing for favorites, recently viewed and scheduled. There's also the audit report. We talked about how employees can see if someone changed their timesheet. If they come to you and say, someone's changed my timesheet, you can run the audit just like they can for that employee. And you can look at what they're looking at. And you might be able to go, oh, no, that's not a change. And maybe you can explain it to them. Because it might be the system did it, and they're not seeing the generated by system and didn't realize that's from the system. And do you guys have any other questions? Mm-hmm.
I input the hours, and our associate director approves all the hours. Now, this is just one layer of approval. Just the supervisor, it doesn't go any higher.
It's just a supervisor. It doesn't go any higher. There is a role that's called the Timekeeper Role that someone in a higher position can be assigned, and it allows them to see the whole department. That may be what you need. And that way you can see it. You have the ability to approve, just like the manager can. You can't approve leave requests, but you can approve timesheets. So it's always nice to have someone at that level. Right now, we're paying everyone regardless of whether or not their supervisor approved their time. Come June of 2019, we're not going to do that anymore. So it's nice to have some oversight to make sure that your supervisors got their stuff done so your employees get paid. Timekeeper role, right. There is a form on our website down here at the bottom. It's called Timekeeper and Supplemental Role Form. You can complete.
Say I'm on vacation and I'm a supervisor, and I hand it off to somebody else.
Yes, you can assign a delegate before you go. Yes, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute.
You have to do that each pay period?
You can assign a delegate for forever if you want to. So- Yes, you can. You have as many as you want. More than one delegate, but you have to delegate more than, for each person. Yes, they can for you on your behalf. The only thing they will not get, they don't get the emails. So they'd have to go look. Only the manager gets the emails. But you can, we've had people complain about it. The only thing I would recommend is when you get the first one, look at how it's sent, and then just have those auto-forwarded. The copy's auto-forwarded to them. So they always get a copy, but it's coming from you. So this is how you would review the employee's time off requests that are waiting for you to approve. You just click Review Employee Leave Requests. And I'm going to get a list of all of the requests that are waiting for me to approve. So if I have 3 employees who report to me, and then they have employees that report to them. And what I ask them to do is to assign me as their delegate. So when I come in to review leave requests, I see everyone's. I just don't approve their employees, I just approve mine. So just know if you delegate to someone, they're also a supervisor, you're gonna see them all here. So I just have to go through and figure out, which is easy for me, but you may have multiple employees that are delegated to you that might make it a little bit more difficult, but I know who my staff are, so I just pick them. There's also this view group calendar here that I can click on, and it will pull up the calendar for everyone that I am the supervisor of, so I know who's in the office and who's not. Basically, I know who's not in office. And I can make informed decisions when I approve leave requests. I would just throw this over onto another screen and then go down my list. And you can move forward, back and forth. You can also sort this by the start date, so you're approving them in order. You had a question?
On the delegate,
Uh-huh.
can someone that's not a supervisor be a delegate?
They can. University policy states that you have to delegate up or at your same level. Just keep that in mind. On the OU Employee Approver page in PeopleSoft, there should be someone in here in the room that has access to that page. There is a manager role that has to be selected because only people who are assigned as a supervisor will show up on when you go to delegate. So if they don't supervise anyone, then you have to select that so they'll appear as a manager. Right. So all the pending are the ones that are waiting for me. The time off request history are the ones I've already approved. So I can deal with one here if I wanted to. I actually need to give Aretha some more time. So I'm going to deny this one. When I come in, right now it's telling me I can't approve it because the pay period is in the past. So I'm going to reject it, which are a lot of these because we're not approving these or in that status. When I reject or approve, my employees get a notice that I did one or the other. If I approve it, it will put it on their timesheet. If I reject it, it does not.
If you reject it and then they put it on their timesheet anyway,
You're not notified, you just have to know that hopefully you know they're not there. Right.
but it'll still let them.
It'll let them, yes, yes. That's in a positive discipline discussion.
Any kind of infrastructure to match the scheduled leave request to the scheduled leave on their timesheet at all? Or are they just totally separate? Like, leave request here, but they can put whatever they want on their timesheet for scheduled leave?
There might be on the reports, I haven't really gotten in here and ran a lot of the reports. You might be able to look, it says time off request. That's just going to be the ones that have the time off request. I don't know if the history would provide that for you or not. I don't know that it does. If you find that out, you run some of the reports, let me know. The group calendar that I showed you on the leave request screen that I pulled up, I can pull that up from here. I don't actually have to go into the leave request to get that. The employee calendar just lets me pull up one employee's calendar. Just like they can pull up and view, I can look at just one specific employee. That way, if I needed to find a time that I could get with Aretha, I can pull up her calendar and look to see when she's here. And I believe this is showing me time that she's keyed in directly on her timesheet, I believe. Because I don't think this is a leave request. I think she keyed it on her timesheet. Because it's just for 4 hours on one day. But it might be. I haven't went to go look. The assigned schedules, I'm not going to go over and how to manage a schedule because you're not using that functionality. Manage delegations is what we were just talking about. So if I want to delegate my authority to someone, I click on Manage Delegations. Then I just select Delegate Authority. You don't really need to key anything in. Just select Search. Then select your employees. And then I put my end date. If I can. So I can put 2 weeks, 3 months, whatever I want to do, or I can do 12/31/3000, which is forever. They're always my delegate. Allow redelegation, we're going to ask that you not use that, because if I delegate to someone and they delegate to someone else, I don't know they just did that. I'm not notified. So don't allow redelegation. And you just click Next. It's going to ask you who, and I recommend you key in their IMPL ID. If you key in their name, you're going to see everyone who's a supervisor with that name. So if it's John Smith, you may select the wrong John Smith. IMPL ID is best and make sure you get the right person. You just click Search, and it will pull up the name. Just click on the radio button and say Select, and it will come back and say it was successfully delegated to her or him. Then I can click Continue, and if I want to view who I've delegated my authority to, I just click on that. I can search, and it will pull up a list. My list is getting really long because we've done this in quite a bit. But at the bottom, I should see Kay, and I passed her. Notice where it has a little revoke hyperlink. I can revoke her access at any point in time. So if Kay came in and gave me her notice, I can just click revoke, and it will allow me to revoke it immediately. Or I can revoke it at the end of the day, and I can list a specific date. So if I want her to continue to approve timesheets on my behalf, I can put it out 2 weeks until her last day, and then her access will end at the end of that day. But I'm just going to do it immediately and say revoke. And now when I come down and find Kay, there she is. You'll notice the date was changed to yesterday because I said revoke it immediately. So she no longer has access. My leave requests, I'm El Nino, so my leave requests appear in this box as well, but so do my staff. So I can come in and click on their request from the box here, and it will open it up, and all of these are old, so all I can do is reject it, but I can approve it. It would have a green check mark and say approval. Yes, those are the only ones that have not been approved yet. The next thing is this message box. We talked a lot about the messages, the exception messages that your employees have on their timesheet. This box you can customize to how you want, the exception messages you want to view. And I had changed them quite a bit, but everybody's using this for training, so they have changed what I've set up. But I can click on the push pins. The red push pins are the ones I need to take care of. So if you have the web clock, you'll see they're missing an in and out time. I'm going to have red messages for them. The yellow is just informational. So when I see the yellow on the yes, it's these types of messages. I have overtime's been earned, it can be banked, and they keep approving my. So this one, the employee banked their comp time, but I have to approve it. They banked their overtime as comp time, I have to approve it. I can approve it right here. Just click on it and it's now approved. and it goes to my white push pin. And if I needed to unapprove it, I can do that here as well. Yes, instead of going to their timesheet. I cannot, oh, it's not letting me delete that one. I don't know that I can click on it. And actually, it takes me to their timesheet. Yeah, so I can look at it. And then just click the back button to go back. I think so. Yes. Failed to communicate with server. It is a test database. Just try it in production. I think it'll work. I don't think you can break it. You might slow it down, but I don't think you can break it. I use Chrome. This is Firefox. No, yeah. But I use Chrome. So this little gear right here, if you click on that, it's going to open up and allow you to determine which messages you want to appear in this box. Now, it's only driving the message box. It's not going to take them off the timesheet or anything like that, or the report. So if you decide, I have not using scheduling, I don't care about that, cannot find the work weekday after the holiday. I don't know that I've ever seen that, but it will ask you to verify. You might come through, what I would recommend you do is go through a couple of payrolls and determine which messages are appearing in this box that you don't care to see. And then come in and turn them off, but do it one at a time. Come in, find it, turn it off, save it, go make sure that's the one that disappeared, not one that you wanted to keep. You also can, when you go live, this show assignment description will not be selected, and all you're going to see is their name. I click show assignment description so that I can see their name, their department, their title, their IMPL ID, their IMPL record. I also, when you go live, it's sorted by assignment. I changed it to date because payroll is date driven. So I changed it to date. And then at the bottom, you have your leave balances as of today. So that's all your balances. You guys have any questions on anything that I talked about on the supervisor side of it? Okay. If there's no questions, you guys are free to go. You'll see them all together, but they'll be, what's your name? Chris. It'll be Chris